Meghan McCain is on the show TakePart Live on Pivot TV, and she made some comments during an Obamacare debate that are raising some eyebrows.
The idea of giving everybody equal access to health care is anything but elitist. It's the exact opposite.
58% of the population doesn't agree with Obamacare, and that's according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, a very well-respected foundation. It's incredibly unpopular right now, and they are dancing right now because the American public has turned on this.
Do you think it's elitist, though?
Do I think Obamacare is
the
elitist?
idea of giving people that don't have health care is elitist?
I'm not even, you can't frame this way.
But that's what it is.
I think that Obamacare is debatably one of the worst things to happen to America in the last 25 years.
Oh my goodness.
You were asking me my opinion.
Yeah.
No, I'm giving you my answer.
Yeah.
It is the main thing above all else, why I think President Obama, and it has nothing is disconnected from what the American people really want. And it's not about me wanting to give everyone free health care everywhere. This is a problem. Young people are paying for older people that are sick. Yeah. And I think had it been framed that way, the American public would not have supported it.
I'd like to zoom out from Obamacare and think about how all legislation looks, how there is a massive subsidy that goes on every day. The way Social Security works, that's young people paying for old people. It's this pay-as-you-go system. The idea that there's a lack of transparency in the legislative process, that's been the case for everything. And the idea that we are subsidizing or redistributing wealth, of all the wealth that's been created since 2008, for every dollar, 93 cents of that went to the top 1%. So if there's any distribution of wealth that's happening in an odd direction, it's toward the very top of the pyramid.
But can I just say also, you might think it's one of the worst laws ever, but the CBO, which reports both to Republicans and Democrats in Congress, says that it saves the United States government money over time.
When you mandate health care and insist that American people buy into something that the government runs,
the government does not run Obamacare. I've got to correct you on that, Meghan.
It is an innately different way of looking at the world, and whether you like it or not, this is just distribution of wealth, which is a big difference between Republicans and Democrats. We could have a whole show on this.
We do, especially giving more people to the private insurance industry. That sounds very Republican to me.
The co-hosts, Jacob Soboroff and Baratunde Thurston, did a good job fighting back there, so credit to them. And look, Meghan McCain is a friend of the Young Turks. She's very friendly with Anna, and she's been very kind to TYT, so this isn't personal in any way. But what she's doing is spewing right-wing talking points, and she's wrong. And here are the facts. To the idea that Obamacare is unpopular, that's only until you get into specifics and go through the actual provisions of the law. And then when you do that, it's wildly popular. So Americans have a negative perception of the term Obamacare. But then when you tell them what's actually in the law, they go, oh, that's fantastic. So for example, 71% of the American people like the Medicaid expansion provision in Obamacare. One of the key provisions, 71% like it. 76% like the subsidy assistance. 76% also like the provision for keeping kids on their parents' policy until they're 26. 80% like the exchanges. So that's the heart of the law. 80% like it. 81% like closing the donut hole in Medicare. 88% like the small business tax credit. And the list goes on and on. When you go through the specific provisions, the only one that that a majority don't like are the individual mandate. Every other one is wildly popular. And furthermore, premiums have been cut under Obamacare. People are paying less as a result of it. See, Meghan frames it, and a lot of conservatives have framed this like, well, Obamacare, once Obamacare took over, now young kids are paying more for their health care. Wrong. That's not true. They're paying less. I know. I'm one of them. Healthcare for me, to get like a average level package before Obamacare would have cost me like $700, $800. Now I pay about $250. So you're misleading people, or you just don't know what you're talking about when you say, hey, it costs people more money. And just to give some more facts here that are very important to the conversation, 67,000 people had pre-existing conditions and they couldn't get insurance before Obamacare. Now they can get insurance. That's nothing to scoff at. I love how people always leave that out of the conversation when we're talking about Obamacare. No, that's like the heart of the conversation, and that's an overwhelmingly positive thing. Now, understand, you guys know I'm in favor of a Medicare for all system. So Obamacare is not my favorite reform. In fact, it's one of the worst reforms that we could have done if we were going to do reform. But here's the reality. It's still much better than what we had before, because anything is better than what we had before. Because 45,000 people, this is another important fact, died every year in America because they didn't have access to basic health care before Obamacare. You think maybe somebody should bring that up in the conversation when discussing if it's elitist, if Obamacare is elitist?